Yeah, sorry I missed a day. I was running low on comics, so I had to, go to a comic store and buy some more and boring stuff. You know how it goes. What's that? Oh, you want to see what I bought? Well, hot dog, let me go get my stack. Howdy, I'm Kurt Williams, and today we're looking at issue 3 of The Deviant by James Tynion IV and Joshua Hixson. Ooh, this is a good series. You can tell that this story is very personal for Tynion because it is so well thought through. If you made it to this video, then you probably already saw my other video, or at least you already read issues 1 and 2, so I'm not going to bore you by going through the premise again. In this issue, we kind of take a detour from the main plot, and we just spend some time getting to know the other characters. We get this really introspective, tender scene between the main character's boyfriend and his coworker, and it's got some really well-written dialogue in there. It runs so smoothly, it feels so honest, it's just really thoughtful. And then we spend a good chunk of the issue with a cop who was maimed by the serial killer in the 70s. Both in the present, where it looks like he's taken the law into his own hands, he's gonna go find the serial killer, and in this flashback sequence where he first meets Randall, who was convicted of the crimes in the 70s. Really quickly at the end of the issue, we see the detective who showed up in issue 2 meeting the main character's boyfriend as part of his investigation. And I loved taking a little detour from the main plotline so we could focus on these characters because it's really fleshing out this world in a way that makes it feel more real. One of the things that I love about this series is that the world in general feels small. It's very contained. Everything is connected and it's easy to understand, so the drama can really shine through. It doesn't feel like the real world where anything could happen and unexplainable things happen all the time and leads just don't make sense. It feels like a crime show or a crime novel where we're given a lot of clues and we're kind of expected to figure it out as we go. As I said in my last video, I'm pretty sure that this is a direct allegory for Tynion's experience as a gay man in America. But what I think sets this apart from other stories of that nature is that this isn't one-sided. This isn't him against the world. This is very fleshed out characters on both sides of an argument having valid points. Like, yeah, this cop is prejudiced against gay people, he thinks they're gross, but he really wants to catch the murderer because he killed little boys and he took an axe to his face. So yeah, he's grossed out by the gay porn that he finds inside Randall's house, but when he sees these pictures of the boys who were killed, that's when he gets really upset, and he just can't help but take this guy down because it's pretty convincing evidence that this guy is a pedophile and a serial killer. And of course, we, the audience, have a pretty good idea that Randall is not the serial killer, but it is very convincing from this cop's perspective. So it's not just gays versus the world, it's people being people having problems. There's this lyric by Macklemore that I've always really liked, and I know that quoting Macklemore makes me look like even more of a basic straight white man, but bear with me. His quote in one of his songs is, "Life is a beautiful struggle and I record it." And that's how I feel about this series. This feels like they're capturing the beautiful struggle very honestly. Like, there's some really dark stuff in this series, but there's still people supporting each other. There's people not fully understanding each other, but wanting to get along anyway. It's just really good. You gotta take my word for it. There's a lot of soul in this series. Not to mention the dialogue is so well written and so well paced. We're getting exactly as much information as we need, and there's lots of flavor to it. We're not getting smacked in the face with exposition. We can just intuit our way through this story. When the lines don't need to have weight, they don't. But when they do need to have weight, they really have weight. And speaking of line weight, let's take a closer look at Hixson's beautiful art in this issue. I'll admit I wasn't as immediately blown away on these first few pages as I was in the first 2 issues. There's some stuff going on with the lines here that I just don't love personally. Like, some of the lines aren't quite black, they're almost grayish. And a couple lines here and there are extra thin, or they almost seem like they're overlapping, so there's an unnecessary line here and there. Like this shot here of his hair, I think that's a little bit below what Hixson can do. But practically irrelevant nitpicking aside, he's still really great at body language, and that goes so far for good storytelling. This page in particular has some really well done body language, some really truthful movement, good anatomy, great expressions, lots of micro expressions there conveying a really detailed emotion. Moving on into the issue, the coloring work that he does is also really great. I mean, look at that Christmas tree with the bulbs on it. It's practically blurring in the foreground, but you can still tell exactly what it is. And then the texture he has on the carpet there, you can tell that that's a carpet without too much detail. It's minimal line work for maximum information. Here's a little thing that always stands out to me. The coat hangers in this panel here, they're just background, but he's not drawing the coat hanger, he's drawing the shadows. So he just has the color to show the rest of the coat hanger where the light is barely reflecting off of it in this dark room. Here's another good example of him using shadows instead of just doing all the contours. Her eyes there are just shadows. We don't need to see the actual eyes because she's bent down, her eyes are in shadow, and that's enough information. It makes it look more like a photo, like we're actually involved in this world. My favorite comic artists will design their own special way of looking at the world, and they'll invite you into it. Like Simone Bianchi, he's not drawing the most realistic things ever, but he is drawing his own very specific take on the world, and it feels like this whole new flavor of reality that we enter into when we read his comics. And I think that Joshua Hixson, especially for being such a young guy, is already very good at inviting us into his own visual world. I compared it to David Mazzucchelli's work in Batman Year One in the last video, and I stand by that still. What's really cool is that he can successfully give us these authentic, retro-looking 70s panels with these nostalgic colors and patterns and shadows and interior decorating, and then once in a while we get this tiny flashback to the serial killer, and we get these electric panels that are a totally different feeling. They're incredibly modern, and yet they still have a nostalgic feel to them. It's like drawing you into these very comforting, familiar color schemes and situations, and then shocking you with these electric, vibrant, super violent moments. There's really just a lot of subtle, nuanced details all throughout his art that paint this very vivid, convincing picture that we don't often see in new comics. So I think I placed this series at, number 2 on my top 10 comics of 2023, and it is still delivering. It's really good. Skip paying rent so you can buy 100 copies. So this is easily a high 9 for me. I don't know how much better modern comics can get. This is kind of the highest the bar goes. I mean, it's not bone, but nothing else is bone. So I'm still loving this series. Everybody I talked to about it is also loving the series. Go and get a copy for yourself. It's really worth having. My rating for issue 3 of The Deviant is a high 9 out of 10. Did you read it? What do you think?